Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another meal prep video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kristi. I'm currently following the WW Blue program, but on my channel I do provide the points for all three programs, and I also share calories as well. This week's meal prep is going to be a little bit different. I am only doing breakfast and lunch this week. So if you watch my channel, normally you know on my meal preps, I do a great big meal prep for my husband and I for the week. I do DIY dinner kits. I also do my snacks, but this week I'm just doing breakfast and lunch. This meal prep is actually one that I kind of planned on doing last week. So last week I planned on doing a St. Patrick's Day theme, but unfortunately last Sunday morning, our 12-year-old Chihuahua, Scooby, passed away. And so thank you all. Thank you for your condolences. My family has really had a hard time this week. We didn't realize how hard this would be. So I didn't end up meal prepping last week. So what I did is took what I was planning on doing last week, and I'm gonna do it this week and just kind of turn it into more of an Easter theme. So last week I planned on doing a St. Patty's Day pancake bake. This week I'm going to turn it into kind of like an Easter pancake bake. And for lunches I'm going to do the same thing. Last week I planned on doing little mini shepherd's pie, and I'm still going to do those this week. So just a little bit of a change in things this week. For dinners this week, my husband is just going to do a lot of grilling. We're going to do a lot of basic things like instant mashed potatoes, canned potatoes, things like that to go for sides. So I'm not going to be putting any dinner kits together this week, and then snacks, nothing to prep for snacks this week. So I need to keep this fairly quick today because this weekend was a pretty jam-packed weekend, but I do want to get a meal prep because I didn't meal prep last week. I really need to get back on track and get going and try to just move forward and get some type of normalcy going on. So again, I want to thank you all for your condolences. So let's get started with meal prep. All right, breakfast prep this week. Last week I planned on doing a pancake bake that was like a St. Patty's Day pancake bake. And I was gonna use my blueberry pancake bake recipe, and instead of blueberries, I was just gonna top it with these Lucky Charms marshmallows for St. Patty's Day. But I thought this week I could still use these and it'll be kind of like an Easter pancake bake. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to do the same recipe, just the blueberry pancake bake, but instead of the blueberries, I'll use these and we'll call it an Easter pancake bake. These marshmallows, you can actually have 4 of them for 1 point. So the pancake bake is 3 points on all programs. So adding the 4 marshmallows is going to make it 4 points on all programs. And if you're counting calories, it's going to be about 210 calories. It just depends on the size of bananas that you use. So I do use overripe bananas, which are here, that look absolutely disgusting. That's because when my bananas start getting really ripe, I freeze them. I just peel them, put them in a bag and freeze them, and can use them on recipes. However, if you don't like bananas, you could definitely use just like a half a cup of unsweetened applesauce. So what I'll do with these is I'll just kind of break them up into small pieces on the top of each one. Okay, so I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and the first thing I'm going to do is weigh out 2 cups of these Kodiak cakes. This is just the buttermilk flavor, and I've mentioned several times before, it calls for 2 cups, but I never measure 2 cups. I always weigh it, just because when it's flour-like consistency or powder like this, if you were to measure 2 cups, it's going to weigh a lot more. So I always weigh it just to be more precise on the points and calories. So for this one, half a cup is 53 grams. So I'm going to need 212 grams. The next thing I'm going to put in is 1.5 cups of unsweetened almond milk. Also going to put in 1 egg. The 2 overripe bananas. Then I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then just mix that up real well. Okay, now take a 13 by 9 inch pan and spray it with cooking spray, and then just dump that right in there. And then for each piece, I have my 4 pieces of marshmallows. I planned on topping it with this, but I kind of feel like I want them to melt in. So I'm just gonna break them apart and try and just keep them in 1/6 of it. This is gonna get sticky. All right, so that's what I'm gonna try and do, and I'm just gonna go through, and that was a little bit, I think I'm gonna cut them into pieces, and I think that'll be easier to kind of put it on each 1/6 of it. All right, so I think we did good enough. So that's going in the oven, 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. All right, I'm also going to use some sugar-free, this is the Maple Grove Farm sugar-free syrup. For this kind, you can have 1/4 cup for 0 points. We actually only end up having about 1/8 cup. So 1/8 cup is 2 tablespoons. So if you're counting calories, it's going to be an additional 5 calories if you use this. And if you're on points, then it would be 0. So these little cups fit right exactly 1/8 cup. And I got these little cups in a kit that I bought off of Amazon, and I will link them down in the description box below. And I'm all out. I think I have another one in the cabinet though. All right, and then I'll just set those in the meal prep containers, and then I'll put the pancake bake in there. The other thing, you could use whatever you want for toppings though. You could use some whipped topping, like some Cool Whip or something. I was gonna use that, but I actually used that for a recipe earlier this week. All right, I'll just set those aside and wait for the pancake bake to get done. It is done. It didn't turn out to be the prettiest looking thing. Now this is gonna cool, and it's not gonna be as thick. So if you are new to my pancake bakes, they're not real thick, like big fluffy pancakes. They're real dense actually. They're, you know, they end up being real thin, but we just love them. The flavor's real good, especially once you put syrup on them. So I don't know. I guess it's up to you if you wanna just put the marshmallows on at the end, or if you want to cook them like that. I think it kind of like cooked them down in, so I think it'll probably be good. So now I'm just gonna let those cool before I cut them into 6 portions. All right, so I'm gonna go through and just cut these into 6, just kind of eyeball it based on where I put the marshmallows. And that is how thin it is. So like I said, they're not big fluffy pancakes. So I'm just gonna put that in there, and then I usually just cut it into 2. And that is gonna be our breakfast. All right, so that is it for breakfast. So that's 4 points on all programs. And like I said, right around 210 calories, actually about 215 with the syrup. So not the prettiest looking thing, but hey, it does have Easter colors, so that worked out well. What I had planned on doing, if I was doing these for St. Patty's Days, I was gonna actually put some food coloring in with the pancakes, just do some green food coloring, but it worked out this way. And also any of the recipes you see me sharing, I will link those down in the description box, as well as any of the items I use, like my meal prep containers, things like that. I'll put those down below as well. All right, for lunch prep this week, I'm doing mini shepherd's pie. This is a recipe I got off of the Weight Watchers website, but I am making some modifications. For example, this recipe calls for skim milk, and I'm gonna be using 2% milk. It also calls for green beans and carrots, and instead of that, I'm just gonna use a bag of mixed vegetables. So typically, shepherd's pie is made with lamb. And when it came to the US, over the years, people just started making it with beef. So some people call it cottage pie when it's made with beef, but really with shepherd's pie, cottage pie, you can make it with whatever ground meat you want. So you can use lamb, you could use ground beef, you can use ground turkey, whatever you want. I'm going to be using 93% lean ground beef in mine. The points for mine with the modifications that I'm making are going to be 6 points on blue and green, 4 points on purple, and if you're counting calories, it's going to be 265 calories. So the first thing I have here is 1 1/4 pounds of potatoes. For this recipe, I like to use yellow or gold potatoes for mashed potatoes. You can leave the skins on if you want, or skin them. I did go ahead and peel mine. Now, if you want a real shortcut, you could actually buy the bagged mashed potatoes, just like the instant mashed potatoes. But for this type of recipe, I really like to use regular mashed potatoes. So I'm going to put my potatoes in this pan. And what I'm going to do is just fill the pan with water, just enough covering the potatoes. So I have filled my pot with water. I've actually just filled it just above the potato line. And what I've done is, I thought the camera was on and it wasn't. I've added in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. You definitely don't need to do that. If you don't like garlic mashed potatoes, you can leave that out. But I just add the minced garlic in there, and then I add a little bit of salt. So now I'm going to get this on my stove. I'm going to cook it on high heat, bring it to a boil, and then cover it and let it sit on medium heat for about 15 minutes. So the next thing I'm going to do is get an onion diced up and get my burger cooking. So I'm using about a medium onion. Just dice it up the way you like it. I like mine pretty well almost minced. I have a pan over here on my stove. I've sprayed it with some cooking spray and I'm heating it up over medium-high heat. I also have 3/4 pound of lean ground beef. This is the 93% lean. And I also have some steamed mixed vegetables. I'm also going to be adding some garlic as well. All right, so after the pan gets heated pretty good, you want to just hear it sizzle, then you'll know it's heated enough. Just get the onions in there and the ground beef. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm just going to let that cook, and then I'll add the garlic and mixed vegetables in just a little bit. All right, after that is done cooking, now I'm going to just add in some garlic. Add however much garlic you want. We like a lot of garlic. And I'm going to turn my heat down now to low, just because I don't want that garlic to overcook. So now I've added my mixed vegetables in there. And just stir that around. And now once I get some liquid in here, that will prevent the garlic from overcooking. Just stir that around just a little bit. Okay, the next thing I'm going to be putting in here is some tomato paste. I actually thought that I had tomato sauce. So I need 1 cup of tomato sauce, but I don't have any tomato sauce. So I do have some tomato paste that I tried getting a 1/2 cup out, but I didn't quite get as much. So I'm going to put that in, and then a 1/2 cup of water. Okay, I ended up adding about 3/4 cup of water with that tomato paste, since it wasn't quite a 1/2 cup of tomato paste. So now I'm just going to leave that on low heat, and I'm just going to cover it and let it sit for a little bit. So now I'm going to put my mashed potatoes together while the Hamburg mix is simmering. So for my potatoes, normally I just use a potato masher and just hand mash them. But with these kinds, I really like them real creamy to put over the top of the shepherd's pie. So I'm going to actually be using my electric beater. Now what I'm going to do is add about 2 tablespoons of light butter. I'm also going to add 1 egg yolk. So I'm going to actually get the egg white out of here. To me, it just makes it a lot more creamy, adding an egg yolk. And then I'm gonna add about 2/3 of a cup of 2% milk, a 1/3 cup at a time. Add the other 1/3 cup of milk. I'm also gonna add some salt and pepper. And then just get them to a real nice creamy consistency. All right, and finally, the last thing I'm gonna put in there is 1 scallion or green onion. I'm just gonna stir that in there. As you can see, those are really creamy. Perfect to top these on. And then at this point, just taste it to your liking. You can add whatever spices you want at this point. So now I have that ready. I also have my meat mixture is now done. I've had it kind of cooking on low just to cook the vegetables through. I also have my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and after I put the cheese on the top, I'm going to just pop them in the oven for about 20 minutes just to cook everything through. All right, now I've got my ramekins, and I'm using this size. I think they might be a little bit big, but I think it should be okay. So now I'm just gonna go through and split this amongst all 6. And finally, I'm gonna top it with the potatoes. Now, if you wanted to get exact, you could weigh your potatoes out and then put them on there, but I think I'm gonna do a pretty good job just eyeballing it, and it's all gonna even out throughout the week anyway. All right, then just spread it evenly around. And now if you want, you can just kind of give it a little bit of design. Not that it's going to matter because the cheese is going to go over the top anyway. All right, and then I have 6 tablespoons of reduced fat cheese here. So basically you're going to want about 1 tablespoon on each one. And that's it. Then those are going to go in the oven, like I said, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, just to let them cook all the way through and get that cheese melted. All right, everyone, look at those. Those look so good. I'm so excited for these this week. To reheat these, what I'll probably do is just take a fork and kind of fork some holes in it and then put it in the microwave for probably about a minute. I'll do a minute at a time and see if that helps. You could also pop these right in your convection oven or something just to heat them up as well. So those are our lunches this week, and again, 6 points on blue and green, 4 points on purple, and 265 calories. All right, so here's my small little meal prep this week. So no dinners this week. We are gonna just be doing some very easy things for dinner. My husband is actually gonna be grilling. So I'm not gonna go over everything and the points and everything since I shared that earlier, but this is it, breakfast and lunch. And then for my snacks this week, I have everything rice cakes with Laughing Cow cheese, 2-point chocolate sugar-free puddings, and I also have the 0-point mixed fruit. That is the kind with no sugar added, so it's 0 points. So that's it for this week for meal prep. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. I'll talk to you in my next video. I'm Kristi, and I'm Planning Us Healthy.
Just the way we are.